Hey, what's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about what I consider the chess openings of the jungle in League of Legends. Basically, when you load into a game, you have options about where to start. And I feel like a lot of people do this randomly. They watched a YouTube video recently that said, oh, I start on Raptors, or oh, I start on my red, and they just copy that. Or they did something one game, it worked out, and they did that for the next 100 games. The reality is, you should change your opening depending on the situation, the champ you're playing, the champs you're fighting. And I think that I haven't seen a long form video discuss all the potential openings. At least I haven't seen one yet. So I wanted to make it. To give a little background, I've peaked D3 this season so far. I've, I wouldn't say I'm hard stuck, but that's my peak so far. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm only like the top 3-ish% of players. And if there's GMs or challengers that want to disagree and weigh in their thoughts, please give me your thoughts because I need that stuff to grow. But for 97% of the rest of you, this video should help you kind of understand why you're starting the way you're starting, and the options that are available to you and to your opponent. So, a couple things that are important to know. I'm not going to go over it too much, but basically, camps spawn at 1:30. Minor camps respawn every 2 minutes and 15 seconds after you kill them. Buffs respawn every 5 minutes after you kill them. Scuttle Crab spawns, this little guy. It spawns at 3:30. Your first minor camp, because, assuming that you kill it on spawn, you don't just wait around and it's coming back up after 2:15. It will respawn around 4 minutes to 4 minutes 20 seconds, depending on which camp you did it. We'll talk about it in the different openings. And then Dragon spawns at 5, Grub spawn at 6. That's pretty much all you need to know for the early game openings. Okay, so now I just want to go through each and every opening. I'm not going to tell you that this opening is the best or this opening is not. I'm just going to tell you the properties of the opening and then the situations in which those properties are the most beneficial to you. And then you can choose to do them or not. Okay, so we'll start with the simplest and ignore the enemy jungler for now. Okay, let's just keep things simple. Let's think about what you have before you. Um, Let me undo that. How do I erase? Okay, so the simplest is the classic. You start the first buff that spawns at 1:30. You do a full clear, going from blue to Gromp to Wolves to Raptors to Red to Krugs to now I'm ganking bot or I'm doing Scuttle or I'm getting Vision into your reset and doing Gromp again at 4:20 because you did the buff first, so it'll spawn around 4:15, 4:20-ish. Um, when do you do this? Okay, so this is the classic. The important properties to note about this is it's the most gold efficient. Once again, let's ignore getting a kill. That isn't consistent. You're not guaranteed to get a kill every game. But what is consistent is you're guaranteed 6 camps, and you could go clear them. Once again, ignoring enemy jungler invading and things like that. This is the most gold efficient in the quickest path possible, um, and it paths you to your bot lane. Okay. And then let's do the opposite. You start on your red, and then you go to your Krugs, and then your Raptors, and then your Wolves, and then your blue, and then, or sorry, your Gromp, and then your blue, um, and then you can gank top. Once again, this is the same, just best, most gold efficient, XP efficient, gives you the most in the least amount of time, and you get to gank top, or you get to gank mid. Or you get to do scuttle, or get some vision, and then once again reset and start your Krugs again. Another important property to note between these two options, besides being, once again, I'm saying, repeating myself, but the most gold and XP efficient in the fastest time possible, barring any unlikely kills, is one of these paths. And the difference is one of them lets you get to, one of them, when you start bot, lets you gank top or mid, and then the other one lets you gank mid or bot. Secondly, the other thing important to note is once you do this first full clear, you respawn or you reset, you come here, you go to your Gromp's respawn, you'll do your Wolves, and then from here, right about here, I'm not going to go into the timings. I have another video for that, but just trust me, it'll be around 5 minutes when you're crossing here. And you now have the option between finishing your full clear, doing Raptors and um, Krugs again, or just doing Dragon, okay? Certain champs are good at it, certain champs are not, but this path will give you that option. If you start your blue, do a full clear, reset, do your Grump Wolves, you now have the option to do Dragon as it spawns. Obviously, you need to, it depends on what the map state is and things like that, but it gives you that option. Now, flip the script. Let's say you start bot side, you full clear up, top, you know, gank, nothing happens, you reset, you go to your Krugs, you do your Raptors, and we're crossing. It's around 5 minutes. Grubs do not spawn until 6. You have more time to finish these two camps and then do grubs. Um, of course, you could do Raptors and then come to Dragon, but basically what you're risking by doing this is that you're sitting here in Dragon while your top camps are up, so they can go take your top camps. Whereas in the reverse scenario, where you start at top side, you come down, the only camps that are available and still are your Raptors and your Krugs. And how are they going to get those camps? If they cross through the river to go to those camps, they're going to see you doing Dragon. Most people will then fight you on Dragon. They're not going to cross to then take your camps. If they're not strong enough to fight you at Dragon, they're surely not strong enough to just ignore you, cross through, and do your camps. So that's the benefit of starting topside, is that you have no camps available for them to invade when you're doing Dragon, if you're doing it. And then opposite side, you're just, if you were to try to do grubs from this path, you go Raptors, Krugs, I want to go to grubs, it's a significantly longer distance and thus will take you more time, not good, versus if you had started top or started bot side, path top, and then you finish your second full clear and you're here at grubs like right as they spawn, or maybe a couple seconds sooner, ideally, and you're super efficient. Um, so those are the two classic paths, right? Start your buff, full clear down. The benefits, once again, are most gold and time efficient, or most gold and XP efficient for the time, and one paths you to ganking bot a lot, one paths you to ganking top a lot. You can always gank mid, and one plays for grubs and one plays for dragon. Makes sense, right? Um, so we got the classic, right? The only weaknesses really to call out here are that if you path bot, once again, your top is weak-sided. So if your top laner is known to be aggressive, okay, let's say it's Darius versus K'Sante. K'Sante is very weak. Darius is very strong early, lane bully, right? This is what your top lane is going to probably look like. And so your top lane is actually highly likely to get ganked, right? Look at this wave state, right? It's easy to gank him by coming around here and saying, what's up? So if you take this walking down bot path, you're kind of leaving him alone to highly likely get 2v1'd and killed, okay? And the opposite's true if you path up to top. If you start your red and you go top, let's say your bot lane is playing Draven Nautilus versus Ezreal Jaina, and they're pushing in like this, well, you're pathing away from them, and they're highly likely to be susceptible to gank. It doesn't mean that they will get ganked, but they're susceptible to it. And that wouldn't be great either. Let's say the opposite's true. Let's say you have the K'Sante and they have the Darius. Well, then this is what the lane is going to look like. And if you leave them, well, your Darius is susceptible to getting dove, okay? Or not your Darius, your K'Sante. Now, diving someone is significantly harder than just ganking them. But the point is, it doesn't matter what the lane state is. If you walk away from it, that's called weak siding somebody because they're more susceptible to getting 2v1'd by the enemy jungler plus their laner. And the opposite's true as well for bot lane. Even if we have the Ezreal Jaina and they're hiding under tower, they're potentially more susceptible to getting dove, which is still harder, but they are weak-sided. And it's important to note that. And then you're obviously strong siding the opposite. If you come here, you're here to gank this K'Sante that's overpushed for some reason, or Darius, and kill him, and vice versa. If you path down to bot from top, you can gank bot lane, right? So that's the classic. I know you probably already get all of that, but I just needed to explain it so that we can then talk about the variations and what the differences are. Okay, so one variation is I do these three camps. And one other weakness to point out is if you do this full clear down, the enemy jungler can invade you just straight up. What if he starts here? You don't know. That's where you would need vision somewhere to deny them the ability to just take your camps. And if they were to, you would know to cross. But basically, you're susceptible to getting invaded level 1 and you not contesting it. And the opposite's true if you were to start bot. you're susceptible to getting invaded level 1, and you're nothing you can do to stop it. Another thing to consider is that you are susceptible to, I do 3 camp, okay? Let's say the enemy jungler 3 camps and then just comes here and sits in your red bush. You do your full clear, you do raptors, you walk over, you start hitting red, you use some cooldowns on the red. They're sitting in the bush, they surprise you after you've used all your cooldowns, you're half health to the red, and they kill you, take your red Krugs, and they get the hell out. Same's true topside. If they were to do some amount of camps, you don't really get to know what, and then they were to sit in this bush or sit in this bush or sit in this bush, and then as you come around, they kill you as you try to do your Gromp. Okay, makes sense. Now you know the weaknesses and maybe the strengths. Um, but let's talk about the variations. So one variation is doing a 3 camp and then skipping all of your camps and ganking bot. Okay, so what are the strengths to this? You're going to get to bot way sooner. So normally, just trust me on this, you're going to clear. It's going to take you around 3:15 to finish your clear on most jungle champions. Sometimes longer, sometimes a little quicker, but 3:15 on average. If you skip all these camps, you can come at around 2:30, let's say, um, or not 2:30, around 2:45-ish, because it still takes time to walk over here. So around 2:45-ish, you can gank, which will highly surprise them. Usually it'll be on the 3rd wave that spawns, and yeah, it's a good gank. If you get a double kill here for your bot laner or yourself, definitely not your support. If you get it for your support, then it's really bad. But if you get it for your bot lane or yourself, great. You got 2 kills. You have prio in a lane that can come up again when you go to do dragon. So this is one good thing for early game junglers like Xin Zhao, like Elise, like Lee Sin. The downside is you just missed all of these camps, which you might be thinking, oh, I just got a double kill. That's 600 gold. I'm the GOAT. And yes, that's true. If each camp is about 100 gold on average, it's a little bit less for some, a little bit more for others, but about 100 gold. This is about 300 gold, and this is 600. So great job. It was worth it. However, in addition to all the gold that the enemy might be missing by being dead and minions dying. However, you don't get a lot of XP for kills, especially not early, especially not when everybody's the same level, especially not as a jungler when you're ganking somebody that's level 2 and you're level 3. However, these camps give you levels. So if you do 3 camps, you're level 3. If you do 3 more camps, you're level 4. That's how it works. If you do 3 camps and then you get a double kill, you're not level 4. However, it took you so long and took you so much energy, you still need to reset and come back to your top camps, right? And so the notable part about this is while yes, you got your bot lane very ahead, and you might have gotten more gold for yourself, which is good if you're a gold dependent champion, you're actually down in XP, even if this guy just were to full clear and do nothing. He's level 4, you're level 3. And the next time you fight, if that item advantage better be relevant because you permanently have a level disadvantage. And potentially the enemy jungler can do another full clear, hit level 6 before you, and even though you're 2-0, 3-0, you don't have ultimate and they do, and they go to fight you on grubs and you die because they are level 6 and you're not. So that's the disadvantage to doing a 3 camp and then gank, is that you're susceptible to um, getting a level deficit that could be relevant later. You usually need to give up something so that you can farm a little bit more, like they get their turn back, so that you can then be at equal in levels and back to your gold advantage, and your bot lane is stronger. That's generally what you want to do, is give something up so that you don't take that risk of the level deficit. Now, I said do these 3 camps and then go gank bot. The other, obviously, downside to this is this massive line here. You see how long it takes you to get there? It's a lot of time wasted. Okay, so there's one disadvantage. But the benefit is, if the enemy jungler were to be, it doesn't matter where they started, if you gank this and they look at you, they look at their minimap and they see that you have a blue buff and 12 CS, what that means is you probably did your top side. So they now know you didn't do your bot side, and they can invade your bot side, right? However, because your bot lane currently fisting their bot lane, this is really dangerous for them. They might get one camp, but once their bot lane is fisted, you can then come back, see that they're here, and you have the stronger bot lane helping you kill them. It's really dangerous for somebody to invade like that. They usually do not, right? Um, and so the benefit here, even though you have this massive long line, you took care of the camps that are on your weak side, okay? Because your other option is, let's say you really want to gank bot and you don't want to waste, like I said, this would be 245. Let's say you want to gank at like I don't even know, 215, 220, like 230 really soon. Okay, you want to save 30 seconds somehow. Well, you can do that if you start your red and then do red Raptors Krugs to bot or red Krugs Raptors to mid, and that will save you time. But the downside is all of your camps here are up. And eventually, when you show on the map and they see that you have a red buff and 12 CS, the enemy jungler, regardless of where he started, knows that all your top camps are up. Knows that you just wasted maybe flash, some cooldown, some of your health bar, that you're not strong anymore. And they can go take all of your top camps. And if you try to contest now, you know you're significantly weaker, and you're not on your strong side of the map that you potentially just played for, or it's just too far away. So that's kind of the hopefully that gives you a summary of the three camp and gank. Basically, your two options when you want a three camp and gank are either do the opposite side, your weak side, and then cross all the way over and then gank. It's a little bit slower, but it's safe to invade. Or you can do the three camp and then same side gank. It's faster, but it's weaker to invades. The enemy jungler can take your camps. Um, Generally, I'd recommend not doing the same side invade unless um, you um, are playing a very specific matchup that's highly aggressive. You know the bot lane is going to all in at level 2. If you want to wait till they're level 3, generally doing the opposite side and then gank is better because you can't get invaded as much. One more thing to note is, let's say you do the same side invade. So I do my red Krugs, Raptors, gank bot, um, and the enemy jungler goes, oh shit, I'm on my Raptors. I know now I can invade. It depends on how long this fight goes. If this fight goes 30 seconds, it's too late. He's got all your camps. But let's say you gank, instantly kill them. You land Cocoon, kill them as Elise, you get in this bush, start backing. It took you 10 seconds to do this gank, right? And they're gone. Um, Basically, this back takes you 8 seconds, and then this to here takes you about 20-ish seconds. So about 30 seconds to go from sitting in this bush backing to here defending your camps. It takes about 30 seconds to do a camp, or maybe more like 20 seconds. So basically what's going to happen is if you insta reset, if it's a fast enough gank, you can then, they'll finish your blue, they'll definitely take that. But then maybe they go for Gromp or Wolves, they greed a little, and you'll show up with your reset done, so they're half health, you're not, with items purchased, so they're weaker than you just straight up. And because they haven't finished a full quadrant, they're also still level 3 just like you. And you can then kill them for this, okay? So this isn't bad necessarily. Like, it's not like, oh, they invaded me, I just lose the game. It's only bad if you do the three camp gank, and then this whole process takes you 30 seconds. Like they flash and barrier and they walk away, and then you think they're low and you sit in this bush like waiting around hoping that they'll walk back up, and they never do, and then you finally reset 30 seconds later. In that case, you just lost all your top side. They're going to go do their whole top side or bot side, whatever they did. And you're behind. Your bot lane might be a little bit slightly ahead, but you're behind. It's really not good. But if this three camp gank, you do it instantly, quickly, pass or fail, doesn't matter. You press B and come back here. You have a real chance to stop this guy. And if they're a higher level, like Diamond and stuff, they'll do this one camp invade and just walk away because they know you're coming. But at lower levels, they know to invade, but they don't know how long, and that's one thing you can punish. But yeah, so now you understand the full clear. Now you understand the three camp gank, the different. Once again, where you start is just about whether or not you want to be fast to that side, or you want to weak side them and then be a little bit slower to the other side to be less susceptible to invade. Okay, so now you understand, starting from my buff, three camp or six camp. One more thing I will talk about before we move on is well, no, I guess that's it actually. So then here's the thing is your Gromp doesn't spawn until 150. So you can't start this. It's just dumb to sit around and wait for this. Same's true for your Krugs. They don't spawn until 150. So you don't do those camps. You can't start them, literally. But you can start your Wolves, and your Wolves and your Raptors actually do spawn at 130, just like your buff. And you can start them, okay? And you might have seen people start them. Now, why would you start them? Okay, a couple reasons why you might start them. Okay, first of all, it's just a potential mix-up, okay? Because everybody starts their camps, their buffs usually. 90% of the time they start their buffs, so this is a good mix-up because it fucks up the timing that the enemy jungler would expect. So for example, and generally, just so you know, what you do is if you start wolves, you do wolves, raptors, Krugs, that's level 3. Then you'd go red, back to your blue, and then Gromp, and then conveniently, as you kill this Gromp, your wolves will be back up. And then you take your wolves, and then you can take your raptors and then your Krugs and then reset. And basically what you did was is you did 2 full clears before resetting. Okay? And so this is really, really good for hyper farming junglers like Lilia, like Karthus maybe. Um, he's kind of more mana reliant, so he needs his blue. Um, but Lilia, Kayn, champs like that are hyper farmers. Shyvana, um, yeah, hyper farming champions. That's not a bad idea. And also another thing to consider is that notably you're doing wolves, you're doing raptors, you're doing Krugs. These are all camps that involve multiple little guys, multiple camps. So champs that do AoE damage like Zyra, Bran, Lilia, Kayn heavily benefit from this path. Champs that do single target damage like Kha'Zix um, or Elise, they do not benefit from this as much because these are the hardest camps for them to farm. It'll take them very, very long. Um, Other weaknesses of this is obviously that you're crossing twice. So this is obviously going to take you longer than just doing a straight line, right? Um, However, if you know that you're playing a farm-focused champion, then this is totally fine because you don't care about efficiency in terms of pathing for ganking because you're not going to gank anybody. Um, but that is also a weakness that you're not available to gank anybody. So even if you thought like, oh, nobody's going to be gankable, and then you get into the game and it turns out these guys are super gankable, you're in a tough spot. Like you don't know, like you're really not sure if you want to completely fuck your clear because if you stop and then you just go gank, right? What's happening is now your Gromp, it's just not as farming efficient on your farming focused champion. So you're really breaking the core identity if you're gonna start your game plan with I'm gonna farm and then midway through you're like actually I'm gonna gank. You could do that, but it's just a little weird. So um, the downside here, another plus that's also a weakness is that this camp will respawn sooner, right? Normally I say that your first minor camp will respawn at 4:15. That's because you do your blue or your red and then the minor camp. But if you start on the minor camp, it'll respawn at about 4, right? Um, and so this will spawn sooner, so you get to farm more, which once again is great for a farming jungler. But let's say that you um, like I guess I showed one way to path it. Like if I showed the wolves path and then coming back. Um, Another way that people often do it, especially on Lilia or Kayn, people that do AoE camps, they like to start their Raptors and then go to Krugs and then go to Red and then clear up. And this at least means it minimizes the wiggle, right? Instead of the wiggle being the entire map worth, the wiggle is just one quadrant worth. So it's a little bit quicker. The downside to this is that if I know that you're starting your red or your Raptors, then they respawn at 4, and I clear to the opposite side of you. I clear down. It's 3:30. I take the scuttle. You're up here doing your Gromp, and I think, hey, this guy started his Raptors. I can take them. You know, I just did scuttle. It's 3:40. These will spawn in 20 seconds. I can just hang out, take them, and then reset. If this spawned 15 seconds later, I could still hang out, but you would at that point reset and get here in time. If it spawns at 4, you have to be very, very efficient, very, very fast to get back here in time. Otherwise, it's really susceptible to invade. So just a bit of a grain of salt there. Like it's farming efficient if you do this path. Um, Not so much if you do Raptors and then Krugs and then Red and then go up. That's just leaving yourself open to getting invaded here. But champs like Kayn and Lilia like to do this anyways because it gets them level 2 quicker. And so, for example, like Lilia would never do this, but Kayn, because of how broken he is, Kayn can even do Raptors, and then just take E, go through the walls, and then do your Raptors, and then do your top camps while you're potentially doing all your bot camps, right? Bot camps, and then he's just level 2 taking your Raptors and going up, right? Um, so that's kind of the minor camp starts. Is it's for champs that either want to do farming, or sorry. And then there's one more thing I want to talk about is that's assuming that you're going to start on a minor camp and do a full clear. Your option is also to start on a minor camp and gank immediately. It's called the level 2 gank. Generally, you don't want a level 2 gank off of um, blue or red because it takes you too long. The only time that you want a level 2 gank off of blue or red is if you're a champ like Nidalee or Graves and you save your smite, important to note. Your bot lane leashes you, okay? And the idea is that you know that the enemy jungler is starting bot, okay? If you know that they're starting bot, um, then you can do the level 2 invades. So they leash you really well, whatever. You save smite, you do, and then you use Graves. This is why you need Graves or Nidalee. You use Graves or Nidalee hop to or dash to get over this wall, which significantly reduces time. Oh, instead of going around here, you just hop this wall and go through here, significantly reducing time. And then this jungler who smited his camp because everybody smites their first camp, right? You want level 2 as fast as possible, right? But you didn't, and now you walk up. It doesn't matter. This could be at 300. This could be at 700. This jungler can't get the Gromp anymore because you have smite and they don't. They might not even know that. And then also, what's worse off is that they've just, wasted some cooldowns on this Gromp. It's aggroing them. Gromp's helping you kill the enemy jungler. You just walk up, smite the Gromp, take the healing, and then win the fight as Nidalee or Graves. And then if the enemy jungler did not start here, for some reason you thought they did, they weren't here, they started here, they're doing their full clear, great. Well, you're level 2, you just take 2 of their camps. You don't want to stick around for too long, and then you get the hell out, right? That's the level 2 invade. It's good on champs like you only want to do it on the buff on champs that can get over this wall really quickly. Otherwise, you want to be a champ that what you do is you ask your bot lane to go leashless, okay? Which, if you didn't know, generally, if you're a jungler, you can tell where the enemy starts by just seeing if they leash or not. That's why leashing is so bad, is that it tells me where you start, and if I know where you start, I know what your plan is the whole time. But in higher elo, if my bot lane doesn't leash, you might be thinking, oh, he's starting topside. He didn't get a leash, and then you can even have your topside fake a leash, just hang out for a little bit. At this point, the enemy jungler thinks that you started topside. They're doing their blue, right? They smite it and they go to their Gromp. And you, as Kayn or as Bel'Veth, any champ that can, or fuck, you can even do it as Lee Sin starting E. Any early game champ that can quickly um, clear Raptors and get level 2 without using Smite, once again, you can then, because you did it so much quicker than their buff, because these buffs usually take a little longer, you get over here, you have Smite still, same fight. You take the Gromp, you kill them because you have the extra healing because they use cooldowns on Gromp, and then you reset and go to your top camps, right? Um, and you can do the same from Wolves, but it's not really as good because like Wolves is just a little bit further away. Like it's just and Gromp is like especially harder to kill. So I generally don't have a lot of success doing wolves into killing them. I usually only do raptors into killing them. Um, and once again, it's only if they're on the same side, because if they're on the opposite side and you try to kill them on their raptors, like this takes too long wrapping here. So you can do raptors, come here. If they're not here, you take 2 of their camps, because they're doing 3 camps, 4. You have time to take 2 and then get out. Or if they are there, you see them on Gromp, you smite it, you kill them. Great, right? So that's kind of why you'd start your minor camp, either as a full clear to quickly put your minor camps on respawn and just keep full clearing, get 2 full clears out before you reset, or you use it as a way to get a level 2 spike sooner than the enemy jungler without using your smite so that you can then kill them here. Hopefully that gives you an idea. Now, these are all the starts that you can have from your side of the jungle. What if you want to start in the enemy side of the jungle? So generally, um, if you wanted to invade the enemy jungler because you know they're starting topside, for example, you can come here and you can take their blue and their wolves and their gromp and you can get out. Now, how much you take here depends on how quickly you clear compared to the enemy jungler. So if the enemy jungler is playing Zyra, Karthus, someone that clears insanely fast, You do not have time to take three camps. You only have time to take two, okay? But if they are playing someone slow at clearing, like Elise or I don't know, Lee Sin, then you potentially have time to take all three camps, assuming you're somebody that clears quickly. But generally, I recommend just taking two camps and getting out of dodge because you want to be able to clear your side and get out of dodge again. So what I would recommend is take a blue, take a Gromp, take your red, take your Raptors, take your Wolves, take your blue, reset, go to Krugs, and then go up from there. Um, and what's the downside to this? Well, you're weak siding your bot lane, unless, of course, your intention is to level 2 gank them, which you could do if your level 2 is strong enough. If you're a level 3 dependent champion, then I would just blue Gromp, red, and then decide if I'm ganking my bot or going up from there. Another downside here is if the enemy mid laner gets prio, like they are playing I don't know, Tristana, and your mid laner is Kassadin, your Kassadin is going to be fucking useless. And then let's say their bot lane is Draven Nautilus and yours is Zeri Lulu. Your bot lane's fucking useless, and you're doing this. As soon as they find out you're here, you're fucked because everybody's coming for you, okay? And you're just dead, right? You can't do anything there. However, let's say the opposite's true. Let's say it's like this. This isn't a very ideal scenario to do this gank because even if the jungler were to spot you, his guys are stuck under tower, and actually the only people that can come are your guys. Because if this mid laner decides to come and this bot laner decides to come, they're dropping waves at their tower. And at this point, you can just walk away. You don't get anything, that's fine. Two laners are dropping waves of XP and gold to just look at you. So that's a win. So they might do that in silver or bronze, in which case just walk away, take the win. But in diamond, they're not moving. Like this is just your camp, and the jungler is gonna fight you because they have an ego, and then your mid laner comes and helps kill them, right? So that's kind of how you can invade them. Same's true on the opposite side of the map. If you are on this side and they start this side, you really hope that you have mid prio and you have top prio. Otherwise, this is pretty dangerous. Another start that you can do that I like to do when I have really strong reads on my opponent. So for example, I've done this before as Elise against Brand. Um, Brand generally starts as blue because that expedites his clear. Same with Karthus. They love starting their blue. They don't have to, but that's where they tend to like to go. And so let's say the enemy jungler starts their blue. What I'll actually do is come here and sit here in this pixel bush. Very rarely. Like, you can get caught, but it's pretty fucking rare. Very rarely does anybody check this bush, okay? Or ward it or anything like that. So you can get in here, and then once you're here without being spotted, now getting here is kind of hard because they could be in this bush, they could be in this bush. There's a lot of reasons why you might get caught, but bear with me. Assume that you've gotten through these pockets of vision and you've gotten here without being seen. At this point, there's always a blast plant that's available right here. And what you do is you just walk over, you take the blast plant, you do his wolves, and it's just like the same idea as when I said that a Kayn or a Bel'Veth can start their or a Lee Sin can start their Raptors and then gank. In this case, you're doing the exact same thing, except you're doing it via their wolves getting level 2, and then you gank from here, which is obviously a significantly shorter distance. So if you're a champ like Elise that maybe clears a little bit slower, this gives you the advantage of saving time on the distance so that you make it in time. And if you're playing a champ like Lee Sin, you're going to do this so quick, you can even come over here and surprise them before they even finish their blue, and maybe even smite it from them so that they're still stuck level 1 while you're level 2. And then at that point, you just take the whole quadrant, reset, and go to your top side, right? So you can start, and honestly, I showed you from the least effective side. This is actually more effective from red side because the only vision of pocket they have is this and this tiny bush here, which you can walk through basically. And generally, it's way more likely for people to sit here than it is for people to sit here. They just bot lane. There's two people. There's a support and a bot versus top lane. There's only one top laner. It's way less likely that this is guarded. Sometimes it is, but it's less likely, right? So what I would do, and this is what I did to the brand, was I walked through here, and I sat in this bush, took the blast plant, um, killed the wolves, comes and kill him either on Gromp or blue. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that I have smite and they don't. And so whatever camp they're doing is mine now, and the healing is mine now, and their cooldowns are down because they were doing those camps, and I waited a little bit, and they got surprised. Just a lot of reasons why this is a very advantageous situation for you. Once again, you're going to want mid prio, you're going to want top prio. You can do this without it, but it's pretty dangerous. Um, okay, so that's pretty much the starts you can do from the enemy jungler side, the starts that you can do from your jungler side, and I guess like, how do you evaluate these starts? Basically, the way you evaluate them is based off of your win conditions and which lanes have priority. So when you get into champ select, you need to think to yourself, what's my win condition? Okay, if your bot lane is playing Seraphine Sona, which happens, and your top laner is playing Kled, like, your win condition is top. Your Seraphine Sona getting ahead isn't gonna, at the end of the day, kill people. It's gonna keep your team alive, which is great, but you need something to kill people. And so in that case, it'd be your Kled. Take the flip side. Let's say your top lane's playing Ornn. Great CC team fight, love him, but he's not your hard carry. And then your bot lane's playing Draven or Kai'Sa or pretty much any traditional AD carry. In that case, your win condition is bot lane. And so if that's true, then you should consider weak siding what isn't your win condition. So I really don't care if this guy's playing Ornn or Olaf or whatever the fuck. If my bot lane is playing a traditional AD carry and my support is playing somebody that's useful, like Nautilus, Leona, useful in early lane for catching somebody out, then I'm pathing bot 90% of the time because that's where my win condition is. If I come top and I gank Olaf and he gets a kill, and the enemy jungler ganks bot and double kills my bot lane, uh, later on in these team fights, that's going to manifest itself in my Olaf running into their team feeling strong and then dying 1v4 to their bot lane, just hosing them, right, from range. And then if we say the opposite, okay, I didn't play for my Olaf. He died a couple times. But I played for my bot lane. We killed bot lane multiple times. What that's going to manifest itself as is in later game team fights, your Olaf's not showing up. He hates you. He's going to just split push permanently. However, when you're taking these team fights, you are more likely to be winning them because your bot lane has a lead, so they do more damage, so they're killing people and making the fights easier. All the while, your top lane, whether he's 0-4 or 5-0, is hitting the top tower. Same shit, right? And so that's kind of why maybe you see people always say, like, path bot, path bot. That's generally why, because your win condition is usually in bot lane. Another thing you can note is you yourself can be a win condition. If you're playing Ivern and Sejuani, you're not a win condition, okay? You're a support. But if you're playing Graves, just because you're ganking bot doesn't mean you need to give bot the kill. You picked Graves because you think you can carry with damage, right? So take the double kill. You carry. And then obviously I didn't mention mid, but mid can be a total carry or not either. You can have Seraphine mid, not a carry. You can have uh, Vex mid, more of a carry. LeBlanc mid, more of a carry. But generally, the way I see mid lane, to be honest, is like there's such a short distance here. Most mid laners are very hard to gank unless your mid laner has setup. So I'm not really gank. Like, for example, my mid laner is Talon. I'm not really ganking this dude. He's not going to set anything up for me unless they're already at 2 HP. The only time I'm ganking is if it's like a Lissandra or a LeBlanc who has CC in their kit that makes it easy for me to show up and kill this person before they get under tower. That's a bit of a tangent. So how am I deciding these openings? It's based off of what my win condition is so that I generally path towards it. And then also, sometimes your win condition, for example, it's Zeri, okay? Your Zeri Jaina bot, okay? Zeri's still your win condition. However, is Zeri Jaina going to be useful at level 3? No, they're useless. And if they have Draven Nautilus, it's going to be a hard lane to gank early. If you come gank this and your Jaina doesn't land Tornado and Zeri's just kind of hanging out hitting minions, Nautilus is going to hook you, Draven's going to fuck you, and you're dead, right? So you need to also consider priorities in the early lane. So Draven Nautilus, because of how strong they are in lane, they're going to get priority. They're going to shove them under tower. And so if I'm here in bot lane, I'm heavily susceptible to getting invaded. Especially if, let's say, it's
my mid lane is playing Seraphine and they're playing maybe not Seraphine's, but my mid lane's playing Kassadin and they're playing Tristana. Um, this spells doom for me being in bot for too long. So in this circumstance, even though my win condition is bot lane, I would probably path top because I need to stay safe and away from getting caught and invaded because they have so much priority from their mid lanes. Does that make sense? Um, Um, and then if the opposite's true, so I have Cassante, and this is usually what happens, is you have Cassante top, you have some even mid lane, and then you have some kind of even bot lane. In this circumstance, I'm pathing bot, right? Because I want to get out of my weak side, I want to clear it so that there's no potential invade on my weak side, and I can be on my safer side, so that if he were to invade, it's a bit more even because nobody has too much priority. And then in what circumstance am I going to do an invade? To be honest, very little. It's extremely high risk, and there is a reward, but it's not much, to be honest. Like the reward is taking an extra camp. Um, if everybody plays well, it's like taking an extra camp or two, which is not game winning. So the risk reward really is not here. The only time I'm invading is if, for example, um, my top lane I think doesn't matter. So I have an Ornn, a Mundo, a Sion, a Yorick, these type of champions. I don't care about them. They're just going to split push. It doesn't matter if they're 0-5 or 5-0. They're going to do the same thing every time. So I don't care about them. And additionally, I know where the enemy jungler is. Rather, I know where everyone is, right? If I know where everybody is and I know I can safely invade bot and I know my top lane doesn't matter, then it's good to do this because what this will do is as soon as he finds out, he'll come here, see his wolves are gone because you've already taken them and moved on. As soon as he comes here, he will go, I need to go top. And you can give him your top camps, okay? Because what this is called is vertical jungling. Normally, you go horizontal, right? Uh, I mean, it's top to bot, so maybe this could be called vertical jungling, but this is horizontal, supposedly. And then vertical jungling is when you go like this, right? And you want a vertical jungle on the side of your win condition, okay? You do not want a vertical jungle on the side that does not have your win condition. Because what's going to happen is this guy's going to take his camps, see his wolves are gone, come here and take my top camps. And then he's going to be left with the options of ganking mid or ganking top. And if my top laner is Sion and he's spending all of his energy making Sion go 0 and 4, like that is not a winning strategy. You can do it, you can win because of it, but it's unlikely. Whereas if I am taking all my bot camps, this guy is never coming bot because he knows that I have his camps and that he has mine forever, and this is what we're doing. Then I'm probably hard winning because basically I don't have to do anything. I don't have to gank. But if a fight were to break out, I'm on this side and I can join and he's over here and he's not doing shit except ganking Sion. Who gives a flying fuck? Whereas I'm getting my Draven ahead, getting my Zeri ahead, getting my 80 carry ahead, um, and they can't play the game. So that's generally the only circumstance I'm a vertical jungle, and then the opposite. Okay, are you always gonna do it for bot? No. If I have Seraphine Sona or Smolder Jaina. Like Smolder doesn't want action. Smolder wants to chill and farm, and he might even die a little bit doing it, but that's okay. That's what he wants. And if my top laner is Kled, Darius, um, I guess Olaf, but I'm trying to think of like any early game aggressive top laner that really or Jax or Fiora, somebody that can win a team fight, then I'm fine with this vertical jungle. I'd invade them potentially, and assuming I know that they're starting bot, I know where everybody is, I know they don't see me. Then at that point, I can start his top camps, do the vertical jungling, and I'm on the side of the game that I think my win condition is. If I have Draven Nautilus bot, I genuinely believe with conviction that they're my win condition, and I have an Ornn top who I genuinely with conviction believe is not my win condition, and I'm invading, you're doing random shit, bro. What you're doing has no logical, it makes no sense. There's no logic to what you're doing. You might win the game, you might not. You know, there's 8 other people in it, or 9 other people in it, but you did not increase your win percentage chances. This was stupid, right? And people do this all the time because like, oh, I'm playing Elise and they're playing Lilia. I want to invade, so I'm gonna start here even though I have Sion top. This shit makes no sense. Stop doing that. Even if you're wanting to invade, sometimes the map says to not, right? Um, and then when am I going to do the level 2 invade? Well, I'm going to do the level 2 invade when I think that my level 2 is stronger than enemy jungler. So if I'm playing Lilia, even though I clear these raptors quick, I'm not going to do the level 2 invade as Lilia. I'm a farming champion that doesn't want to fight early. Why the fuck am I doing this? But if I'm playing Lee Sin, who isn't really looking to farm for a significant period of time and really wants to get action going early, and you're playing Fiddlesticks or Lilia or any of these early game champs, and I know that you started your blue, then I can do this level 2 invade, right? Because it makes sense. Or if I'm Graves in Italy, I can do this level 2 invade because it makes sense because you're a farmer and I'm not. If we're both early game champions, then at that point, I would argue this takes too much risk. You can go for it, but I think it's too much risk, and I would rather just get a full clear off. I'd rather put the onus on them to take risk, and I'm just going to be as farm efficient as possible. And then if you're playing Elise and they're playing Lilia, or you're playing Rek'Sai and they're playing Lilia, and you're thinking, well, let me just get my full clear off, and they'll get their full clear off, and we're all happy. You can do that. Sometimes, the matchups just do not enable you at all to invade. If you have no prio, you can't really invade. In that case, um, you really need to accept it and full clear, even though it's not what you want exactly. The only time that I am doing this show up at their wolves and then gank them here and reset is if I think that I will not is basically if I think lanes are either even or I don't have priority in them and I can kill the enemy jungler. So if they're or like how to put it, I can kill the enemy jungler early because I'm playing an early game champ and they're playing a farming champ, and their win condition, the enemy junglers, is farming a lot, and my win condition is creating chaos and thriving in it. Only in those circumstances am I going to, like, let's say that they're blue for a second and they're doing their blue. Only in those circumstances am I going to come here and do their wolves and then come gank them, because the lanes are relatively even, and it's so early on and so fast that you can just disrupt their game plan from minute one, and vice versa. But this has so much risk within it, okay? And the only reason we're taking all of this risk is because we feel like we're trapped. Like we're like, oh, I'm an early game jungler in a game where none of my lanes have priority. I have nothing I can play for. I'm gonna try to get this cheese off, basically. And I'm gonna do it because I know they don't have vision here or something like that. But honestly, if you're doing some shit like this, maybe you shouldn't pick the champ you picked. But this is what I'll do when I'm playing on my Elise only account and I'm fighting in a farming jungler and I don't have priority everywhere. If I have priority somewhere, like this, and I'm playing Elise, I'm gonna just do my 3 camp and then come dive them, right? Um, but okay, hopefully that gives you a rundown on like the general options you have before you, why you would do them, why they have certain strengths or weaknesses. So hopefully you don't just, do Raptors and invade as Lilia anymore. And hopefully you don't just do your 3 camp and gank bot when their bot lane is stronger than yours and the enemy jungler is a farming jungler who now took 3 quadrants, right? Maybe you see a little bit more of the logic to why you might start a certain way. And it all starts from champ select and knowing what your win condition is, who has priority early, and playing off of that. So hope this helps.